Welcome back, CSC103, Fall 22. I'm actually going to show you the video from Spring 22 that I did, and I go over a lot of the interface in that one, so everything should be the same, but just a couple things I want to do for the fall that I just want to mention. If you just created an account, now if you go back to your dashboard, you can go over here. Now it doesn't look like it says dashboard, but that's your dashboard. This thing says recent designs. If you just go here on the Tinkercad logo, it'll take you back to your dashboard. And this is your dashboard. Well, actually, I'm going to go through even logging out. So let's say you log out. I'm going to log out. And now I came back and I want to log back in. You already created your account and you already joined your class after creating an account. You're going to log in. And when you come here, you might be confused on which button to hit, but you can actually use personal accounts or student accounts. Either one will take you to the same place. So don't worry about the class code if you already did that. Just use student accounts or personal accounts. I think for now, I'm just going to use personal accounts. And sign in normally like you did. And hopefully you remember your password. Okay, so you'll be in here and you've already joined a class. Now, if you didn't join a class, you go here to classes and it should say that's the class that you're in, and that's me, home at WCCC, I'm your teacher. So that's what it'll show for your teacher. So you already are in a class, so you're okay. So you could just sign in again using your personal account. You don't have to join a class again. So just go back to your designs. Now, this is the one I had started and I didn't do anything with. And to open it up, you could either double click on it or click on this tinker this. Either way, you got to tinker this to get it started again. It's a little bit different than the older version where it had new designs right here. Now they just have a plus sign over here to make a new design. If you didn't do anything yet, make a new design. And if you started it, you could hit tinker this, and that should open it up. And if you didn't give it a name yet, this is where you could double click on it and give it a name called 7a cube 3 holes. And again, I think in the rest of the video, I go over the interface, some of the views down here, home view, these different views down here, flat view, where you could look at it flatter, where it's going to be easier to kind of put things on this kind of grid here. And again, when you set up the ruler, make sure that you set up the ruler the correct way. Watch the video where I do that because I do it multiple times. So, and over here, you could view things from the front, from the top, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be in the rest of the video, but I just wanted to make sure that the interface looked the same for fall 22. So it does pretty much. And again, whenever you want to go back, you don't have to save or do anything like that. There's no save button. When you go back here, it actually will say saving down here and you'll go back. So if you get interrupted or if you have to do something, just go back to your dashboard and then you could go back and work on it again. So if you just created your account, you didn't want to do anything yet, just go back to your dashboard, always go to that logo, and then to open it up again, come here. So the next part of the video is going to be an older video, but it should be the same steps. And again, it's not the easiest thing. The interface is a little quirky. If you struggle with it, let me know because I can go into your account. You don't have to send me a link or anything. I could just go right into it and do the best you can. If you struggle with it, everybody just struggles with selecting things and getting them in the center, but make sure that you use the right center thing so it's measuring from the middle. You'll see that in the video, but good luck with that. Let me know if you have any problems. If you struggle or if you have problems, don't get stressed out. It's just a little unit we do on 3D. To do something else, I'll give you extra credit on something else if you really struggle with this. Some people have no problem, some people struggle, so good luck with it. We're looking at this in perspective view right now, and that's why it looks like it's like a trapezoid, like it's going back in depth. If I go over here and it says switch to flat view, it means when I click the button, it will switch to flat view, and then it just looks flat. So it's like a sheet of paper right now. And the way this works is this is your y-axis. Going up and down is your y-axis, just like a piece of paper. And going across is your x-axis, just like a piece of paper, just like Illustrator, just like Photoshop. Y goes this way, x goes that way. So your width is your x, your length is your y, but then you have something else called depth, which is actually going to be z. And we'll look at that in a second once we see some depth. Now I'm going to go here and it says switch to perspective view. So if I click it, it'll go back into perspective view. Now a couple things I want to point out here before we get started, even before I adjust the grid or anything. I have a mouse right now, and you don't have to use a mouse, but if you use a mouse, if you use the scroll wheel, you can zoom in and zoom out. Zoom in and zoom out with the scroll wheel. And if you use your right mouse button, not your left that you usually select things with, your right mouse button, you can hold it down, and I'm holding it down and moving around like that. Your scroll wheel actually pans. So your scroll wheel will pan, and your right mouse button will kind of move around like that. And you could also add keys. I think if you add shift with your right mouse button, it'll also pan like that. So that's doing the same thing as using your right mouse button and holding your shift key. Right now I'm just holding down my mouse wheel. Holding down mouse wheel, holding down right mouse button. Okay? That's what a mouse. Now, if I use my trackpad on my laptop right now, I could use my 2 fingers to zoom in and zoom out just like you normally zoom on a laptop, which you're probably familiar with. And then if I want to scroll around like I was doing with my right mouse button, I would have to hold Control. And that's, I think, on Mac and Windows the same way. So then I could hold Control and move around like that, and I'm pushing, and I'm using my finger on my trackpad. So that's on a trackpad right now. And then if you use Shift, along with it, Shift Control, then you can pan. So if you're not using a mouse, you have to use Shift Control to kind of pan on your trackpad. And you could use a mouse, you could plug in a mouse, or just use your trackpad, whatever works for you. And again, if this gets all messed up, click on Home, we'll kind of recenter it. You can view it in flat view or orthographic, or put it back to perspective. We're probably going to keep it in perspective view. Now, a couple things to note up here, other than that Home button, they also have a top. You could view from the top. These are called the orthographic angles, meaning top, bottom, left, right. That way you can see the exact height, the exact width, all that kind of stuff, because sometimes you need to go at different angles to do that. And again, if you get messed up, just hit the Home button. And the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to edit our grid, because I don't want it such a big grid. I want it a little bit smaller. I just want 10 sections on here. And it doesn't matter what increment we use or what unit we use. But I'll go to unit grid. It's using millimeters, which is okay, because we're not really going to measure with millimeters. It doesn't matter. They could be inches or anything. But I am going to change this to 100. So I'll go to 100, double click in there, and then hit tab and put 100. We'll just have that less of boxes on there, and I'll hit update grid. So it'll look like that. I'll zoom in a little bit, and you can see there's 10 boxes going across and 10 boxes going that way. And what I actually want to do, now that I have that, is I want to put a ruler in the center. Now, this is the most complicated thing of the entire assignment. Everybody screws this up, and it's because Tinkercad works in opposites, meaning just like this thing, when you hover over here, it says switch to flat view. That means you're actually in perspective view. Now, when you put your ruler on, you can use the midpoint or end point. We're going to use the midpoint so we know the center of our objects. But for some reason, this is confusing. So let me just do this. You're going to put a ruler in the middle of your page so that we could have 0, 0 in the center and go up in increments and go down and go positive to the right and negative to the left. So typically in 3D, your origin point, your ruler is going to be in the middle. Now, how do you get this to the middle? Well, just count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and count over from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it should snap right there. And if it doesn't, you could kind of grab it in this very middle part, and it should snap in the middle there, and you should be able to leave go. And leave it this way. If you keep clicking it, it'll switch directions, but just keep clicking it. We want it to go like this, like a letter L. Keep it like that. So if it does get messed up, just click it a couple times till it gets back that way again. That means it's going to be positive in that direction, positive in that direction. And 0, 0 is going to be in the middle. Now here's the complicated part. You see this thing, when I hover, I'm hovering, I'm not clicking. When I hover, it says use midpoint. That means I want to use midpoint. That means I need to click it. So it means it's using endpoint right now. When I hover, if it says use midpoint, it's always showing the opposite. So if it says use midpoint, click it. And now it says use endpoint. I don't want to use endpoint, so it's okay that it says use endpoint. It means I'm in midpoint mode. So if I hover, this is correct. Don't click it. Don't click it. It should always say use endpoint, because that means you're using the midpoint. Does that make sense? So if I click this and it says use midpoint, I don't want it to say use midpoint. I want to click it again so it says use endpoint. And that means when I use the midpoint of these objects, 0, 0 will be in the very center. So let's bring something out here. So what I'd recommend is going into orthographic, this button down here, switch to orthographic, which is flat. And I didn't put my ruler in, even though you just saw me do it. I didn't do it yet, so I'm going to put my ruler in right at the middle, and make sure I kind of move it over in the middle and it kind of locks into place. It's over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's over this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's actually easier to see it from straight on from the top. And I guess the best way to look is make sure you click on this. Even though I was kind of from the top, make sure you click on this and use this a little more. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to move this so it's right on my area, and just like in the previous part, make sure where it says use endpoint, that's what you want. So don't do anything. It should say use endpoint because that means I'm using midpoint. So I'm going to leave that alone. So this should be the 0, 0. Now I'm going to bring on the cube right on to the grid. Now again, I'm viewing from the top. So make sure you're viewing from the top in orthographic. We'll bring it right here. And you could just kind of move it right into place. You can even use your arrow key if you need to kind of line it up, because we only need to see it from the top. And that's pretty good. Now I could look at these. I could see that the cube is 20, 20, 20. And I think we leave it that way. And if you need to view it from the front, just go here and view it from the front. You can see it sitting right on top of here. And everything is perfect. That's all you need to do right now is just position it there so it's 20, 20, 20. And then also I'll go back to the top. Now as far as positioning, it's saying 0, 0. Over here, you almost have to click. It's saying 0, 0. If you zoom in a little, you might see it better. I don't know why they put these numbers on top of each other. But that's 0, 0. This is 0, 0. And the other one is 10. Let me close this up. And that's a 10. So the cube's in the right place. So if you go here, the cube's in the right place. So that's what you want. So I'll view from the top. So what I'm going to do next, and this will be easier, I'm going to drag this cylinder, which has a color of none. I'll just drag it on here from the top. And I think what we do is we make this 10. So its width is going to be 10. And length this way is going to be 10, which is the Y. And then his Z, which is over here, is going to be 40. We're just going to double it so it goes all the way through. I'll put 40. And when you view it from the front, you can see that's what it looks like. Now, you could move it over from here, or you could go back to the top and just kind of move it over and just put it right on top. And make sure this is 0, make sure that's 0, and it kind of locked right into place. So when I view it from the front again, which is down here, that's perfect. That's what you want. So that's the one cylinder. And now this will be easy from here on out. I'm going to take a copy of this and rotate it down. And that'll be kind of going along the x-axis. So you're going to go to this button here and hit duplicate. And then go here where the rotation is and just kind of drag it down to 90 degrees. Done. And then if you view from the top again, that's what it looks like. There's the one cylinder, there's the second. Now we're going to rotate another one around, except I'm going to go over to the right side. So now we're on the other side of it. We were viewing from the front, now we're viewing from the right side, and all we have to do is make a copy of this and rotate it down this way, and then they'll be going in all directions. This is the one standing straight up, so I'm just going to select it and duplicate it first, and just rotate it down to 90 degrees. And that's it. And then if I want to view it from the top, that's what it should look like. And if I want to go down here and put it in perspective, I can do that. And I could put it on home and see what it looks like. I'll zoom in a little bit. That's exactly what I want. Now, it's not done yet. They don't look like holes yet, but they have whole color. All I want to do now is just go out here somewhere and just highlight everything. Highlight everything. And it should say 4 shapes because there's 4. There's 1, 2, 3 cylinders, and there's a cube. And all we have to do now is go here and hit group. And it's done. And that's all you have to do. And then if you look around here, I mean, that's perfect. That's all you have to do. So viewing it from the orthographic views makes it a lot easier. I think the previous video was a little bit harder, but viewing it from the top, viewing it from views that make it a lot easier by using this thing, top, right, front, and make sure you're in orthographic so everything's completely flat. It's perfect. Now it's viewing from the bottom. I don't want to view from the bottom, but if you view from the top, everything looks good. So that's all you have to do. And you don't have to even turn it in. You could just go to my warn and say it's completed because I can get into your classroom. So we don't even need a part 2 video, I don't think. This is done. And remember to save it. All you have to do is go over to your Tinkercad logo, this color logo over here. Just click on there and it'll say saving your work. And that's all you have to do. it'll take you back into here, but then you'll see your preview here. And if you ever need to open it up again, you'll hit Tinker this. And when I see it, when I go into your classroom, I'll see this too. So this is your assignment here. So if you need to do any more work, hit Tinker this. Otherwise, just go in, add a comment in My Warren, and just indicate that it's complete. And hopefully you already joined your classroom. So make sure you follow the videos to do that.